Haas and Nikita Mazepin. When it comes to universally hated F1 drivers, one name sits at the absolute top of the modern era: Nikita Mazepin. Before he even sat in the car for his first race, he'd already sparked outrage. In December 2020, just days after being announced as a Haas driver, a video surfaced on his Instagram showing him groping a woman in a car. Haas condemned it as abhorrent. The hashtag #WeSayNoToMazepin trended worldwide. He apologized, then deleted the apology 9 days later. His racing record before F1 showed a pattern. In 2016, he physically assaulted Callum Ilott during Formula 3, punching him in the face hard enough to leave cuts and a swollen jaw. He was banned from one race. In 2005, during Formula Renault in Monaco, he crashed into marshals at full speed under yellow flags, breaking one marshal's back. His father paid the medical bills to avoid a ban. When he made his F1 debut in Bahrain 2021, he spun out at turn 3 on the first lap. Guenther Steiner's reaction was caught on Netflix. This is why people hate you. He collected penalties for ignoring blue flags and dangerous driving. Charles Leclerc said on radio, "Mazepin will never change." Esteban Ocon said he drove 200% more cautiously around him. His father's company, Uralkali, bought his seat. When Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, both were sanctioned. Haas terminated his contract. He found out through a press release. 1 season, 0 points. Universally hated. Williams and Pastor Maldonado. He earned the nickname Crashtor for a reason. Someone created a website called HasMaldonadoCrashedToday.com. There was a Twitter account called Did Pastor Crash. From 2011 to 2015, Maldonado received 26 driving infractions, more than twice the second-place driver. He averaged over 11 incidents per season. The crashes were constant. Spa 2015, he crashed in practice with a 17G impact. The team disclosed the details because they were not impressed. He said, "I don't care." At Monza, he hit Nico Hülkenberg in the first chicane and retired. Mark Webber said publicly Maldonado wasn't talented enough to justify his F1 seat. Jenson Button called him mental after an incident in Singapore. The 2012 Spanish Grand Prix was his one moment. He won. It remains one of the biggest anomalies in modern F1. That same year, he finished 15th in the championship despite winning a race, the lowest standing ever for a race winner. He was only in F1 because Venezuela's PDVSA paid for his seat. When funding dried up, his career ended. His legacy is 73 documented incidents, 0 wins after Spain 2012, and a reputation as one of the most reckless drivers in F1 history. Alpine and Nelson Piquet. His controversies didn't happen while racing. They happened decades after he retired, which somehow makes them worse. In November 2021, Piquet gave an interview on a Brazilian podcast. When discussing Lewis Hamilton's crash with Max Verstappen, he used a racial slur. The term translates to "little black guy" and is widely offensive. The interview surfaced in June 2022. Formula One condemned it. Mercedes condemned it. Every team spoke out. Hamilton tweeted that archaic mindsets need to change. Piquet claimed the term was colloquial and meant guy or person. Linguists and journalists called that defense nonsense. Then, a second clip surfaced. Piquet used racist and homophobic language when discussing why Hamilton lost the 2016 championship. He implied being gay was a negative characteristic. The fallout was immediate. Piquet was banned from the F1 paddock permanently. 4 human rights groups in Brazil filed charges. In March 2023, a Brazilian court ordered Piquet to pay 5 million reais, roughly $950,000, in moral damages. The money went to funds promoting racial equality and fighting discrimination. The judge stated Piquet's comments violated Brazil's constitution. Piquet donated $95,000 to far-right President Bolsonaro's campaign, which angered progressive fans further. He remains the only F1 driver fined nearly $1 million for comments made decades after retirement. 3-time world champion, banned from the paddock, fined for racism and homophobia. That's his legacy now. McLaren and Sergio Perez. His season at McLaren in 2013 was a complete disaster that damaged both his reputation and the team's patience. McLaren had high expectations after Perez finished on the podium 3 times for Sauber in 2012. They signed him to replace Lewis Hamilton, who'd left for Mercedes. The pressure was immense. From the start, Perez struggled. He crashed in preseason testing. In Australia, he qualified 11th while teammate Jenson Button made Q3. The pattern continued all season. Perez was consistently slower than Button in qualifying and races, but the real hatred came from how he drove. In Monaco, Perez crashed into Kimi Räikkönen while trying a desperate overtake. He was fighting for position he had no business fighting for given his pace. The team was furious. At Silverstone, he ignored team orders to let Button through despite being significantly significantly slower. Button was on a different strategy and needed track position. Perez refused. The radio messages were tense. McLaren's frustration was obvious. By mid-season, McLaren team principal Martin Whitmarsh publicly questioned Perez's performances. That's rare. Teams usually protect their drivers publicly, even when struggling. But McLaren was done being patient. Perez finished the season with 49 points. Button had 73 in the same car. McLaren announced in November they were replacing Perez with Kevin Magnussen for 2014. Perez had 1 year and was gone. He called it the worst year of his career. McLaren called it a failed experiment. The hatred wasn't personal, it was professional. He simply wasn't good enough for McLaren's standards. Aston Martin and Lance Stroll. He is the definition of a divisive pay driver. His father, Lawrence Stroll, owns Aston Martin F1. That fact alone generates hatred from fans who believe he's blocking a more deserving driver. Stroll joined F1 in 2017 with Williams at age 18. He'd won the European Formula 3 championship, so he had talent. But the accusations started immediately. Pay driver, daddy's money, undeserving. His first season had moments. He finished third in Azerbaijan, becoming the second youngest podium finisher ever. But consistency was lacking, and the perception stuck. When Lawrence Stroll bought Racing Point in 2018, Lance joined the team. The optics were terrible. A billionaire buying an F1 team and putting his son in the car. Even when Stroll performed well, fans dismissed it. In 2020, he took pole position in Turkey in wet conditions. Genuine pace. But critics said the Racing Point was a Mercedes copy, so it didn't count. He finished on the podium twice that year. Still not enough to change opinions. The hatred intensified at Aston Martin. Multiple incidents where Stroll lost his temper on radio or with the team made him look petulant. In Qatar 2023, he damaged his car in qualifying and threw a tantrum, shoving team members. It was caught on camera, unprofessional. In 2024, he was regularly outperformed by teammate Fernando Alonso. The gap was significant, but Stroll kept his seat because his father owns the team. That's the issue. Talented drivers are fighting for seats while Stroll has guaranteed employment. Fair or not, that's why he's hated. Nepotism in a sport that's supposed to be merit-based. Red Bull and Sebastien Buemi. His time at Toro Rosso from 2009 to 2011 ended in controversy and bitterness that lingers to this day. Buemi was a Red Bull junior driver who'd proven himself in GP2. He joined Toro Rosso alongside Sebastien Bourdais in 2009. The team was a mess that year, but Buemi showed flashes of pace. In 2010, partnered with Jaime Alguersuari, Buemi was clearly the faster driver. He scored points multiple times. The team seemed happy with his progress. Then, 2011 happened. Daniel Ricciardo and Jean-Eric Vergne were coming through the Red Bull Junior program. Red Bull had to make space. Despite Buemi outscoring Alguersuari again in 2011 with 7 points to Alguersuari's 5, both drivers were dropped at the end of the season. No warning, no second chance, just gone. Buemi found out through the media. Red Bull didn't even tell him personally. He'd given the team 3 years and was discarded like he meant nothing. The decision was purely political. Red Bull wanted fresh talent. Buemi's pace didn't matter. His loyalty didn't matter. The way Red Bull handled it generated massive criticism. Buemi later said in interviews that being dropped without explanation or communication was devastating. He felt used and discarded. He moved to Formula E and became a 2-time champion. He won Le Mans 3 times. He proved Red Bull wrong. But the bitterness remained. For fans, Buemi represents how Red Bull treats their junior drivers. Use them, discard them, move on. No loyalty, no respect, just cold business. That's why this entry is about the system, not Buemi. He was the victim. Red Bull's ruthless approach earned them hatred from fans who valued driver development over disposable talent. Ferrari and Santino Ferrucci. He never raced for Ferrari in F1, but his time as a development driver ended in one of the most shameful episodes in modern motorsport. In 2017, Ferrucci joined Ferrari's driver academy. The goal was to develop him for a potential F1 seat. He raced in Formula 2 while connected to Ferrari. Then came the 2018 Silverstone F2 round. Ferrucci's behavior that weekend was disgraceful. During the feature race, he deliberately drove into his teammate Arjun Maini multiple times under safety car conditions. This wasn't racing contact. It was intentional ramming. After the race, Ferrucci drove on track during the cool-down lap while using his mobile phone. That's illegal and dangerous. Then he drove back to the pit still on his phone. Stewards reviewed footage and found multiple violations, but the worst detail emerged later. Ferrucci had been racing with the Italian flag on his car and "Make America Great Again" on his racing suit. His team, Trident, is Italian. The MAGA branding while representing an Italian team insulted everyone. The FIA banned Ferrucci for 4 races and fined him €60,000. Trident fired him immediately. Ferrari terminated his development contract the same day. The statement was blunt. His behavior was unacceptable and not representative of Ferrari's values. Ferrucci tried to defend himself, claiming Maini had provoked him. Nobody believed it. The evidence was clear. He deliberately rammed his teammate multiple times. Ferrucci moved to IndyCar, where he's had a mediocre career. But his connection to Ferrari, however brief, remains one of the most embarrassing driver academy failures. Ferrari prides itself on developing champions. Instead, they got a driver banned for deliberate violence on track. Mercedes and Yuji Ide. He holds a unique distinction in F1 history. He's the only driver ever to have his super license revoked for dangerous driving. His F1 career lasted 4 races in 2006 with Super Aguri. That's it. 4 races, and the FIA said he was too dangerous to continue. Ide was 31 years old when he debuted, one of the oldest rookies in modern F1. He'd finished second in Formula Nippon the year before, so he had credentials. But Super Aguri threw him into an F1 car with only 200 kilometers of testing. He couldn't speak English, so communicating with the team was nearly impossible. In Bahrain, he qualified last, nearly 7 seconds off the pace. He retired from the first 2 races. In Australia, he finished 13th, 3 laps down, as the last classified runner. Then came Imola. Lap 1, Ide crashed into Christian Albers at high speed, sending Albers into a barrel roll. The car flipped multiple times. Albers was okay, but the incident was terrifying. The FIA had seen enough. They revoked Ide's super license immediately. The statement said he was a danger to other drivers. Kimi Räikkönen said it was a good thing he'd been dropped because you never knew if he was going to spin in front of you. Nick Heidfeld and Christian Klein agreed. Even Albers, the victim, was diplomatic but clear that Ide wasn't ready. Ide had tested with Mercedes in 2019 as part of his preparation, which is why this entry connects to Mercedes. They'd given him track time to prepare for F1. It didn't help. He returned to Japan and raced in Super GT, where he had a respectable career. But in F1, he's remembered as the only driver banned for being too slow and too dangerous. Alfa Romeo and Romain Grosjean. He never raced for Alfa Romeo, but his time at the team when it was Lotus from 2012 to 2015 was defined by chaos. He was involved in 7 first-lap accidents in 2012 alone. 7. Mark Webber branded him a first-lap nutcase, and the name stuck forever. The defining moment came at the Belgian Grand Prix. Grosjean misjudged the run into Turn 1 and collided with Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton was pushed into Fernando Alonso. Sergio Perez got collected. 4 cars eliminated on the first lap. The incident could have seriously injured someone. Alonso's car flew over Hamilton's cockpit, missing his head by inches. The FIA gave Grosjean a 1-race ban, the first driver suspended since 1994. He was fined €50,000. The statement said it was an extremely serious breach that eliminated championship contenders. When he returned, he crashed into Mark Webber on the first lap at Suzuka. That's when Webber called him a first-lap nutcase. In 2013, he crashed 3 times during practice in Monaco. His team principal told him to wake up. Later that weekend, he crashed into Daniel Ricciardo. In 2018 at Baku, driving for Haas, he spun under the safety car on his own. His engineer thought someone hit him. Grosjean said on radio, "I think Ericsson hit us." It became a meme. Ericsson was nowhere near him. Grosjean admitted years later he needed psychological help to deal with the 2012 season. The first-lap nutcase tag never went away. Even his survival of the horrific Bahrain 2020 fire couldn't erase the reputation built over years of crashes. Racing Bulls and Jaime Alguersuari. His F1 career at Toro Rosso ended the same way as Sebastien Buemi's. Dropped without warning after 3 seasons. Alguersuari was 19 years old when he made his F1 debut in 2009, the youngest driver at the time. He replaced Sebastien Bourdais mid-season. The kid had talent, but was thrown into a struggling car with no testing. He scored his first points in 2010 and looked like he was improving. In 2011, he scored 26 points, his best season. Then, Red Bull dropped him alongside Buemi at the end of the year. No explanation, just gone. The hatred isn't directed at Alguersuari personally. It's at Red Bull system. system. 3 years of development, steady improvement, and then discarded to make room for Ricciardo and Vergne. Alguersuari found out through the media. Red Bull didn't communicate with him. He later revealed in interviews that being dropped destroyed his confidence. He never raced in single-seaters again. He became a DJ and music producer. When asked about F1, he's admitted the experience left scars. The way Red Bull treated him and Buemi exposed the ruthlessness of the junior program. Loyalty means nothing. Results don't guarantee anything. If Red Bull decides they want someone new, you're gone. For fans watching young drivers get chewed up and spat out, Alguersuari became a symbol of wasted potential. Not because he failed, because Red Bull didn't give him a proper chance to succeed.